I returned to Cedar Ridge after 12 years, my suitcase heavier with bank statements and a forensic accounting report than clothes. My aunt took my college fund. My stepfather called me ungrateful, and his hand left a red mark across my cheek when I said no. They didn't know I work as a fraud auditor in New York, or that I had a good lawyer waiting in the church parking lot. I came back not for nostalgia, but to shut off the money tap, recover every penny, and shatter the empire of lies they built on my father's memory. My name is Madison Kerr, though everyone back home still calls me Maddie. The Delta flight from LaGuardia touched down in Denver at 2:43 p.m., and the rental car's GPS showed another 90 minutes to Cedar Ridge. I'd made this drive once before, 18 years ago, when Dad was still alive and the mountain air didn't taste like betrayal. The folder on the passenger seat contained everything Grandpa Williams' death certificate, dated 3 days ago, and 12 years of bank statements showing systematic withdrawals from an education trust fund that should have sent me to medical school. Instead, I'd waited tables through community college, then clawed my way through night school for my forensics accounting degree. Now I worked for Northline Advisory in Manhattan, specializing in cases that made grown CEOs sweat through their Italian suits. The house at 212 Spring Creek Drive looked smaller than memory suggested. Paint peeled from the shutters Dad had installed the summer before the fire took him. The front door opened before I could knock. Bo Porter filled the doorframe, 55 years old, 6'2" of whiskey-soaked muscle gone soft around the middle. His breath hit me first. Bourbon at 3 in the afternoon. Same brand I'd smelled on him 4 years ago at Mom's wedding. Well. The prodigal daughter returns. His mechanic's hands, permanently stained with grease, gripped the doorframe. Your mother's at work. I know her schedule. I kept my voice steady, professional, the same tone I used when presenting evidence of embezzlement to federal prosecutors. Come to pay respects to old William, or come to stir up trouble. I came for the funeral. I'm staying at the Hampton Inn. His laugh was sandpaper on metal. Too good for your mother's house now. That fancy New York job make you forget where you came from. I stepped past him, noting the fresh scratches on the hardwood furniture moved recently. Probably sold. The living room smelled like stale beer and the cloying vanilla candles Mom used to mask it. Her wedding photo with Bo had replaced the family portrait above the fireplace. Your old room's a storage unit now, Bo said, following close enough that I could feel his breath on my neck. But we cleared out the basement. You can sleep there if you change your mind about that hotel. No. The word hung between us like a lit match over gasoline. What did you say? I said no. I'm not staying here. His hand moved faster than a man his size should manage. The slap cracked across my left cheek, snapping my head sideways. My ear rang. The metallic taste of blood touched my tongue where teeth met flesh. Mom appeared in the kitchen doorway, dish towel in her hands. Elaine Porter, née Hale, 58 years old, still beautiful despite the worry lines that hadn't been there before Bo. She saw my face, saw Bo's raised hand, and looked away. Maddie, please, don't make trouble. It's been a hard week with Grandpa passing. I touched my cheek, felt the heat rising under my fingers. My phone was already in my other hand. Camera app open. I took 3 photos selfie angle, showing the fresh mark while Bo muttered about sensitive snowflakes and teaching respect. Trouble. I kept my voice steady while opening my document vault app, uploading the photos with timestamps. I drove 1,600 miles for a funeral. That's not trouble. That's family obligation. Bo stepped closer. You always were an ungrateful little Bo. Mom's voice cracked. Please. Not today. He stormed toward the kitchen, shoulder-checking me as he passed. I didn't move, just typed a quick incident report in my phone's notes, app date, time, location, witnesses, nature of assault. The same methodical process I used when documenting financial crimes, except this evidence was personal. Mom approached cautiously, like I might explode. Maddie, honey, he's been drinking. You know how he gets. If you just accept it like you do. She flinched. That's not fair. Fair. I pulled out the folder, showing her the bank statements. Was it fair when Aunt Robin drained my college fund? Was it fair when you let her... The color drained from her face. What are you talking about? $247,000. Mom. Withdrawn over 12 years. Small amounts at first. Then bigger chunks. All from the account Dad set up for my education. That's impossible. Robin said she was managing it, keeping it safe until... Until what? Until it was gone. Beau's voice boomed from the kitchen. That money went to family expenses. Keeping this roof over your mother's head while you played career woman in New York. I turned toward his voice, though he remained out of sight. That money was in my name. Designated for education. That's fraud. Beau. That's prison time. A glass shattered in the kitchen. Mom grabbed my arm. Please, Maddie, just go to the hotel. We'll talk after the funeral. I looked at her fingers on my sleeve, trembling. Thin, wedding ring loose on a finger that had lost weight. When had she gotten so fragile? Fine, I said, but this conversation isn't over. I left through the same door I'd entered, Beau's curses following me to the rental car. My cheek throbbed in time with my heartbeat. In the driver's seat, I opened my phone and scrolled to a contact saved simply as AD. Ava Delgado answered on the second ring. Madison, how bad is it? Assault within 5 minutes of arrival. I have photos, timestamps, and a witness who won't testify. Physical marks. Clear handprint, already swelling. Get medical documentation within 4 hours. I'll file for an emergency protective order tonight. What about the financial fraud? I looked back at the house, at the shadow moving behind the kitchen curtains. Worse than we thought, and they're not even trying to hide it anymore. Good, Ava said. Arrogance makes them sloppy. Sloppy makes them prosecutable. I started the car, catching my reflection in the rearview mirror. The mark on my cheek was darkening already, but my eyes were clear, focused. I looked like Dad in that moment, determined, unbreakable. They wanted me to say yes, to accept it, to play the grateful daughter returning home. Instead, I'd said no, and I was just getting started. The Riverside Funeral Home sat on Maple Street, its Victorian architecture unchanged since Dad's service 12 years ago. Grandma Ruth stood by the entrance, 81 years old but sharp as the mountain air. She grabbed my hand before I could speak, pressing an envelope into my palm. Not here, she whispered, her eyes darting toward the parlor where Robin held court among sympathizers. Read it at your hotel. The service passed in a blur of hymns and hollow condolences. Robin played the grieving daughter perfectly designer black dress, tasteful pearls, dabbing at dry eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. She'd gained weight since I'd last seen her, soft living funded by my future. Back at the Hampton Inn at 4:15 p.m., I spread the envelope's contents across the bed. My hands shook as I recognized Dad's handwriting on the savings book, Madison Rose Kerr Education Fund. Below it, a power of attorney document dated 6 months after his death, granting Robin temporary custodial oversight of my college fund. My signature line was blank. It had never required my consent. The bank statements Grandma included told the real story. Starting small, 500 here, 800 there, always just below reporting thresholds. Then bigger chunks, 3,000, 5,000, 12,000. The withdrawals matched deposits into Blue Mesa Events LLC, incorporated in Wyoming for its privacy laws. Public records showed Robin as the sole member. I photographed each page, uploaded them to my secure cloud, then called Ava on speaker while I traced the money trail on my laptop. Blue Mesa Events, I said, fingers flying across the keyboard. It's a shell company. No real events, no employees, just a funnel for my money. Where did it go from there? I pulled up business filings. Porter's Pit Auto Repair, Beau's shop. Blue Mesa invested $170,000 over 8 years. The shop shows losses every year on tax returns, but Beau drives a new Silverado and just bought a boat. Classic money laundering, personal expenses disguised as business losses. Ava's voice carried the satisfaction of a hunter finding tracks. "We'll need forensic accounting for court." "I am forensic accounting," I reminded her. "This is what I do for Fortune 500 companies. I can map every dollar." A knock interrupted us. Through the peephole, I saw Mom, alone, shoulders hunched against the evening wind. "I'll call you back," I told Ava. Mom entered hesitantly, taking in my command center laptop, documents, color-coded highlighters, the methodical setup of a financial investigation. "You look like your father," she said softly. He'd spread his fire department reports the same way, looking for patterns. "Did you know?" I asked directly. She sat on the bed's edge, careful not to disturb my papers. "Robin said she was protecting it, that banks failed, investments tanked. She said she moved it somewhere safer. Into her LLC, into Beau's shop. I didn't know about that until today, when you showed those papers." Her voice broke. "I trusted my sister. After your father died, I could barely function. Robin handled everything." I pulled up Porter's Pit website on my laptop, turned it toward her. "Look at the gallery. That's your house in the background. That vintage Corvette he's working on bought 3 months after a $20,000 withdrawal from my fund." Mom's face crumpled. "Oh, God." "There's more." I showed her the withdrawal patterns. "Look at the dates. Every time you mentioned struggling with bills, money disappeared from my account. They let you suffer while stealing from your daughter." She stood abruptly, pacing to the window. "Beau said the shop would support us, said he just needed capital to get established. Robin vouched for him, said it was a solid investment." "Mom." I joined her at the window, watching the sun set behind the Rockies. "They played you, isolated you from everyone who might have noticed. When did you last talk to Dad's friends? His firefighter brothers. Beau doesn't like them coming around, says they judge him. They judge him because they see what he is." Her phone buzzed. Beau's name appeared on the screen. Message in all caps. "Where the hell are you?" "I should go," she said. "Mom, no. Stay here tonight." "I can't. You don't understand." "I understand perfectly." I pulled up my phone, showed her the photos from earlier. "This is evidence of assault. Ava's filing an emergency protective order. By tomorrow, Beau won't be able to come within 500 feet of me." "He'll be furious." "Let him." I also found something else. I retrieved a document from my pile. Dad's pension death benefit. You were the beneficiary, but somehow it ended up in an account controlled by Robin. Another 200,000. Gone. Mom sank into the chair. "She said she was helping. Said I wasn't thinking clearly, that she'd manage it until I was ready." 10 years later. You're still not ready. Her phone rang. Beau again. She declined the call, but it immediately rang again. "Give me the phone," I said. She handed it over. I answered on speaker. "Elaine, where the fuck are you?" "She's with me," I said calmly. "Her daughter. Remember the one you assaulted 4 hours ago." Silence. Then, "You poisonous little bitch." Turning her against, I hung up, blocked his number, and handed the phone back. "He has my car keys," Mom whispered. "My wallet's at home. Everything's at home. We'll get you new everything. Right now, we're going to the kitchen." I stood, gathering key documents. "You're going to eat something that isn't microwaved. Then, we're going to plan how to get your life back." "Maddie, I can't fight them. I'm not strong like you." "You don't have to fight," I said, remembering Dad's words before he'd run into burning buildings. "You just have to stand behind someone who will." In the hotel restaurant, over soup she barely touched, I laid out the battle plan: criminal charges for fraud and embezzlement, civil suit for conversion of funds, forensic accounting that would unravel every transaction. "They'll destroy me," Mom said. "Robin knows everyone. She's on the church board, the county commission." "Good," I interrupted. "The higher the pedestal, the harder the fall. And Mom, that bruise on my cheek, that's going to be on the front page of the Cedar Ridge Gazette by Monday. Local woman violently assaulted upon returning for grandfather's funeral. Small towns hate nothing more than bad publicity." For the first time since I'd arrived, Mom almost smiled. You really are your father's daughter. No, I corrected. I'm yours too. I just learned to say no louder. The funeral began at 10 a.m. sharp. I sat 3 rows behind Robin, documenting her performance, the practiced grief, the gracious acceptance of condolences, the way she kept mentioning Daddy's final wishes while eyeing his house like a vulture over carrion. I'd already photographed her signature from the guest book, comparing it against the authorization forms. The loops were wrong, the slant too aggressive. Amateur forgery work. After the burial, the reception moved to First Baptist's Fellowship Hall. Robin worked the room while I worked my phone, sending comparison signatures to a handwriting expert Ava recommended. His response came back in minutes. Consistent with forgery? Will testify? I was reaching for a coffee when Beau's hand clamped on my shoulder, spinning me toward the exit hallway. The smell hit first bourbon mixed with cigarettes and motor oil. His face was flushed, eyes bloodshot. You think you're smart. He pushed me against the wall, finger jabbing at my chest. Filing complaints, making trouble for good people. Assault, I said clearly, aware of the security camera above us. Battery, witness intimidation. Keep talking. Beau, every word adds charges. Charges. He laughed, spraying spit. Your aunt owns half this town. The sheriff's her cousin. You're nothing here. Little girl. The sheriff's her second cousin, I corrected, and federal fraud charges bypass local law enforcement entirely. His hand rose again, that same practiced motion from yesterday, but this time I was ready. Phone already recording. The slap connected with my jaw lower than before, harder. My head hit the wall, through the ringing in my ears. I heard Grandma Ruth's voice, Robert Porter. She stood in the doorway, tiny but fierce. You take your hands off that child. Mind your business, old woman. This is my business. That's my granddaughter. And you're assault her at my husband's funeral. Beau stormed past her, shoulder-checking the doorframe hard enough to shake the pictures on the wall. I kept recording until he was gone, then saved the video to 3 different cloud services. You all right, honey? Grandma Ruth touched my face gently. I'm documenting, I said, taking selfies of the new mark. Building a case. Your daddy would be proud. Come with me. She led me to the church office, locked the door, and pulled a wooden box from her purse. William kept copies of everything, she said, opening it. Paranoid old coot, but sometimes paranoia's just good sense. Inside were documents I'd never seen. The original trust establishment for my college fund ironclad, requiring dual signatures for any withdrawal over $1,000. Mine and the trustees. I'd never signed anything. There's more, Grandma said. Your daddy's death benefit paperwork. Look at the witness signature. I studied it. Robin witnessed Mom signing over power of attorney for the pension. But the date Mom was in the hospital that day. I have the medical records. She was sedated after a breakdown. Exactly. And here, Grandma pulled out another paper. The house deed. Your daddy put it in trust for you and your mother. Somehow it's now in Elaine's name only, which means Beau could force her to sell or mortgage it. My stomach turned. They've been planning this for years. A knock rattled the door. Maddie. Ava's voice. Your grandmother called me. I have the emergency order. I let her in. Ava Delgado looked like what she was, a former prosecutor who'd switched sides and now hunted predators with legal precision. She handed me the paperwork. Signed 20 minutes ago, she said. Beau Porter is prohibited from coming within 500 feet of you. I also got a temporary asset freeze on Blue Mesa events pending investigation. He just hit me again. I showed her the video, on camera. Beautiful. That violates the order before it's even served. He's looking at immediate arrest. She turned to Grandma. Mrs. Hale, would you be willing to provide an affidavit about what you witnessed? Honey, I'll provide whatever you need to bury that man. We spent the next hour in that church office, building our case. Ava called in favors a judge who owed her, a state police detective who specialized in financial crimes, a forensic accountant to verify my analysis. By noon, We had enough for criminal charges. There's something else, Ava said, checking her phone. The detective ran Bo's history: 3 domestic violence complaints in Texas, 2 in Oklahoma. All dropped when the victims disappeared or refused to cooperate. Mom doesn't know public records, but buried. Your aunt would have had to dig to find them. Either she didn't bother, or she knew and didn't care. I thought about Mom, alone in that house with him. We need to get her somewhere safe. Already arranged. There's a women's shelter in Denver with high security. They'll take her tonight. I looked at the pile of evidence we'd assembled. Years of theft, forgery, fraud, and abuse, all documented in black and white. What's next? I asked. Now we go to war, Ava said. But first, we serve papers. And I believe Mr. Porter is at his shop this afternoon. Porter's Pit sat on Industrial Boulevard, a converted warehouse with bay doors open to the afternoon heat. Classic rock blared from speakers. Bo was under a lifted truck when we arrived with Sheriff's Deputy Tanya Ruiz. Robert Porter. Deputy Ruiz called out. Bo rolled out from under the truck, saw us, and his face went purple. You've got to be kidding me. Mr. Porter, you're being served with an emergency protective order. You're also under arrest for violation of that order and assault. I haven't violated anything. You just got here. I held up my phone, showing the timestamp. 11:23 a.m. You assaulted me at the church. The order was signed at 11:40. You've been in violation for over an hour. Deputy Ruiz cuffed him while he screamed about lawyers and connections. Behind him, I noticed something in the shop, a vintage helmet on the wall. Dad's firefighter helmet, with his badge number still visible. That's stolen property, I told the deputy, pointing. From my father's estate. We'll add it to the charges, she said, leading Bo to her cruiser. As they drove away, I turned to Ava. Robin's next. Oh no, Ava smiled. Robin we do publicly. Tomorrow's county commission meeting. She sits on the board. Right. Let's see how she handles fraud charges in front of her peers. I touched the fresh bruise on my jaw, felt the ache spreading, but underneath the pain was something else: satisfaction. They'd hit me, stolen from me, tried to break me, but I'd said no. And I was still standing. The county courthouse opened at 8 a.m. But Ava and I were there at 7:45, watching the sunrise paint the mountains gold. Judge Harrison had signed the freezing order overnight. Every account connected to Blue Mesa events was locked, pending investigation. Sheriff Alvarez wants to meet, Ava said, checking her phone. His office, 9 sharp. Nate Alvarez had been Dad's friend, but I hadn't seen him since the funeral 12 years ago. His office still smelled like burnt coffee and leather, same as when Dad would bring me here as a kid. The man himself had aged well silver at the temples, laugh lines deeper, but the same steady presence. Maddie, he stood, offering his hand. I should have checked on you. On your mother. I'm sorry. You couldn't have known. That's bull. I knew Bo Porter was trash the day he rolled into town. Should have run his record then. He gestured to Deputy Ruiz, who handed me a folder. We executed a search warrant on Porter's Pit this morning at 6. Found more than we expected. The photos showed boxes of documents, casino receipts, pawn shop slips, and something else jewelry I recognized. That's Mom's mother's ring, I said, pointing, and Dad's watch. Mom said they were lost in the move. Pawned, Ruiz corrected. Along with your dad's service medals, your grandmother's china, and about 30,000 in tools from the fire department that were supposed to be auctioned for charity. He stole from the firefighters' fund. Gets worse. Alvarez pulled up financial records on his computer. Your forensic analysis was dead on. The money trail from your college fund to Blue Mesa to Porter's Pit, it's all there. But there's another player. He showed me account statements from a casino in Blackhawk. Robin's been running money through the gaming tables. Classic washing buy chips with cash. Play a little. Cash out with clean money. Except she got sloppy. How sloppy? She used her player's card. Every transaction tracked. He smiled grimly. She spent your college fund on slot machines and blackjack. Maddie, over 100,000 in losses. I felt my chest tighten. Medical school tuition, housing, books, all fed into machines designed to take everything. There's more, Ruiz added. She produced a banker's box. From Beau's home office, not the shop his house. Inside were receipts for vacations, Robin's name on spa treatments, dinner bills for two at restaurants Mom could never afford. They'd been dating, my aunt and my stepfather, spending my money on their affair while Mom worked double shifts. Jesus, Ava breathed. This is conspiracy. RICO territory if we can prove the pattern. Oh, we can prove it. Old Grady walked in Dad's Marine buddy, still built like a tank at 70. Found something you need to see. He handed me a thumb drive. Security footage from the VFW hall. We installed cameras last year after some thefts. Guess who we caught? The grainy footage showed Beau loading boxes into his truck. The timestamp read 2:14, 3 weeks ago. That's the night before the garage sale, Grady said. The one where your dad's firefighter memorabilia went up for sale. We thought the families had donated it all. Turns out Beau broke in, stole it, then sold it back to the community. He sold Dad's things to his own brothers. My voice cracked. $2,700. Grady confirmed. I bought his helmet myself. Thought I was supporting Elaine. That bastard looked me in the eye and took my money. Alvarez stood. We have enough for federal charges. Mail fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud. The FBI's Financial Crimes Unit wants this case. What about Robin? County Commission meets at 2 p.m. Serves her right to be arrested in front of everyone she's been impressing with money she stole from her niece. I spent the next 3 hours with the FBI agent they'd called in from Denver, Sarah Moss. All business in a black suit despite the small-town setting. She'd handled similar cases, family fraud that spiraled into federal crimes. The casino involvement makes this money laundering, she explained. The mail fraud with the fraudulent signatures, the wire transfers across state lines your aunt and Beau are looking at serious time. How much time? 20 years, potentially, plus full restitution. At 1:45 p.m., I walked into the county commission meeting room. Robin sat at the elevated board table. Nameplate gleaming, Robin Hale, District 3. She saw me and her face went white. The meeting began with routine business. I waited, documents in my lap, until public comment period. Madison Kerr, I said when called. I'm here about Commission member Robin Hale. This isn't the venue for personal, Robin started. It's about the embezzlement of $247,000 from my education trust fund. The room went silent. I walked to the podium, set my documents down. Sheriff Alvarez. He entered with Deputy Ruiz and Agent Moss. Robin Hale, you're under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit fraud. This is ridiculous. Robin stood, but Ruiz was already moving. I managed that money. I invested it. In slot machines, I held up the casino records. 93,000 in losses last year alone. The other commissioners stared. The local newspaper photographer's camera clicked rapidly. You can't prove your player's card. Agent Moss interrupted. Every transaction logged, plus the forged signatures, the shell company, the conspiracy with Robert Porter. As Ruiz cuffed her, Robin looked at me with naked hatred. Your mother will lose everything without me. No, I said clearly, so everyone could hear. She'll lose everything because of you. You stole from your sister's child. You let her struggle while you spent my father's legacy on gambling and your boyfriend. Beau's Not June 12th Vale Resort. I read from a receipt. Suite for two, champagne service, couples massage, paid with a Blue Mesa Events credit card funded by my college fund, while Mom was working overnight shifts to pay utilities. The commission chairman, an older man who'd known Dad, looked disgusted. Mrs. Hale, your resignation from this board is expected immediately. They led her out in handcuffs, past the crowd that had gathered, past the reporters. I followed, needing to see it through. At the sheriff's car. She turned. You've destroyed this family. No, I said. You destroyed it. I'm just documenting the damage. As they drove her away, someone touched my shoulder. Mom stood there, looking stronger than she had in years. How? I asked. Grady drove me. The whole fire department's here. She gestured to the parking lot where Dad's old crew stood in solidarity. They want their stolen property back. We'll get it all back, I promised. Every penny, every medal, every memory they tried to steal. She hugged me then, tight and desperate. Your father would be so proud. He'd be proud of both of us, I corrected. You're standing up too. The call came at 7:20 a.m. Mom's boss at Cedar Ridge Elementary, where she'd worked as a secretary for 15 years. Elaine didn't come in today, Principal Janet Morrison said, but her husband did, drunk, aggressive, demanding to know where she was. Security had to escort him out. The children were terrified. I found Mom at Grady's house, where she'd been staying since Beau's arrest. She sat at the kitchen table, still in yesterday's clothes, staring at her phone. 23 missed calls, she said numbly. 16 texts. He got out on bail at 5 a.m. I read the messages. Threats, manipulation, love bombs, more threats. The classic cycle, compressed into digital harassment. This violates the protective order, I said. He doesn't care. Janet called, said I can't come back until this is resolved. My job, Maddie. It's all I have left. Look at me. I sat across from her, pulled out 2 documents. What do you see? She studied them 2 signature cards from the trust fund authorization. That's supposed to be my signature, but I didn't. The one on the left is from your driver's license renewal last year. The one on the right is from Robin's power of attorney form. See the difference? Her hands shook as she traced the letters. She forged my signature too. Multiple times. You weren't complicit, Mom. You were another victim. The tears came then. 12 years of suppressed truth flooding out. I knew something was wrong. When Robin would show up with expensive things while telling me the fund was struggling. When Beau suddenly had money for his shop right after saying we couldn't afford groceries. I knew. But I was too scared to look. Scared or controlled? Both. She wiped her eyes. After your father died, I couldn't function. Robin stepped in, handled everything. Then she introduced me to Beau, said he'd help with the house maintenance. Before I knew it, I was married to a stranger who monitored my calls, controlled the bank accounts, isolated me from everyone. Classic coercive control. I pulled up my laptop. I've documented every pattern: financial abuse, isolation, psychological manipulation. But Mom, I need you to sign something. The document was simple but powerful: a conservation agreement for the house, placing it in an irrevocable trust with specific conditions. This protects the house permanently, I explained. You have lifetime residency rights. It can't be sold, mortgaged, or transferred without my signature and a judge's approval. Beau can never touch it. He'll be furious. He's going to prison. Fury is the least of his problems. She signed with a steady hand, then looked at me. Well, what about the money? The college fund, Ava's filing for immediate restitution. The FBI froze their assets. Beau's shop, his truck, the boat, Robin's house. Everything they bought with stolen money gets liquidated. But your education is complete. I didn't need their money to succeed, but that doesn't mean they get to keep it. Mom's phone rang. Beau again. This time. I answered. Listen, you little... Mr. Porter, this is Madison Kerr. You're calling my mother in violation of a protective order. This call is being recorded and will be submitted as evidence. Put Elaine on. No. Also, you should know that Principal Morrison has filed a formal complaint about your intrusion at the elementary school. Drunk and disorderly on school property. That's a felony in Colorado when children are present. Silence. Then, you've destroyed everything. I've exposed everything. There's a difference. Your mother needs me. She's nothing without you. She's free. Without you, she's safe. Without you, she can heal from 13 years of theft and abuse. When I get my hands on, I hung up and immediately forwarded the recording to Ava and Agent Moss. Mom stood, pacing to the window. I need to tell you something. About Robin and Beau. The affair. She spun around. You knew. Casino receipts, romantic dinners, a Vail resort weekend while you worked doubles to pay for groceries. Her face crumbled, then hardened into something I'd never seen before. That weekend. I remember. I was so sick, probably stress, and Robin said she had a conference. Beau said he was visiting his brother. I spent 2 days alone, throwing up, scared I was dying, unable to afford a doctor. While they spent $3,000 of my college fund on champagne and room service, I want to testify. The words came out sharp, determined. Whatever you need, whatever helps put them away. Mom, no. I've been silent too long, scared too long. She pulled out her phone, scrolled through photos. Look, pictures I'd never seen. Mom with bruises on her arms, a hole punched in the wall. Beau passed out drunk on the couch while bills piled up on the table. You documented it. I thought maybe someday I'd be brave enough to leave, but I never was, until you came home and said no. You can be brave now, I said. We have a meeting with the federal prosecutor tomorrow. Your testimony could add years to their sentences. She nodded, then pulled something from her purse, a small key. What's this? Your father's lockbox at the bank. I told Robin it was lost in the fire, but I hid it. I was afraid she'd take that too. What's in it? I don't know. I was too scared to look, afraid of what I'd find, what else had been stolen. We drove to First National together. The box was paid up for 20 years, Dad planning ahead. Even then, inside were his medals, intact, his badge, photos of us. And something else, a life insurance policy I'd never known about, naming me as beneficiary. $100,000. Mom read, payable on your 25th birthday or upon completion of college, whichever came first. I graduated 9 years ago. Robin said there was no insurance, said the firefighters' fund was all we had. I photographed every document. Another federal charge, insurance fraud. On the drive back, Mom was quiet. Then, will you forgive me? For what? For choosing them. For not protecting you. For being weak. I pulled over, faced her fully. You weren't weak. You were traumatized, manipulated, and abused. There's nothing to forgive. I stood by while they stole your future. No, they stole money. My future was never theirs to take. I squeezed her hand. And Mom, you're standing up now. That's what counts. That evening, while Mom gave her statement to Agent Moss, I sat with Ava planning the next day's federal hearing. With your mother's testimony, we can add domestic violence, coercive control, and insurance fraud to the charges. Ava said, Beau and Robin are looking at 20 to 30 years minimum. Good. There's something else. The fire department wants to establish a scholarship in your father's name, funded by the restitution from the stolen charity funds. I thought about Dad, how he'd always said the best revenge against cruelty was kindness, against destruction was building something better. Yes, I said, and make sure it's for kids whose parents say they can't afford college, kids whose families tell them they're asking for too much. The Madison Kerr Breaking Silence Scholarship. The Daniel Kerr Second Chance Fund, I corrected. For kids who need someone to believe their dreams are worth investing in. Beau posted bail again at 6:30 a.m., this time for violating the protective order. Within an hour, he was drunk at Murphy's Tavern, running his mouth about ungrateful bitches and East Coast liberals destroying honest working men. The bartender, Tim Murphy. Dad's old friend recorded everything on his phone. By noon, the video was on the Cedar Ridge Community Facebook page. 3,000 views in 2 hours. Beau, swaying on his stool, admitting to putting that little brat in her place and claiming he deserved that money more than some ungrateful girl who abandoned her mother. Channel 9. News picked it up by 2 p.m. Local business owner admits to assault. Financial abuse on camera. They interviewed neighbors who'd suspected something was wrong but hadn't known how to help. Robin tried damage control, posting a tearful video claiming she was protecting the family's interests, that I was a money-hungry opportunist who'd abandoned Cedar Ridge and only returned when I smelled inheritance money. The comments destroyed her. Former friends posting receipts from her casino trips, screenshots of her bragging about expensive purchases while claiming to be struggling. Look at this. Ava showed me her phone at our strategy meeting. Your high school classmate posted photos of Robin at the Blackhawk Casino, same day your mom couldn't afford insulin copays. The community Facebook group became a digital courtroom. People shared stories Robin overcharging for fundraising events, skimming from bake sale proceeds, always having excuses when charity money came up short. Then came the killing blow. Marcy Huang, who ran the local credit union, posted, I cannot legally discuss specific accounts, but I encourage anyone who's had financial dealings with Blue Mesa Events LLC to request full transaction histories. You might be surprised what you find. Within hours, 3 local nonprofits discovered discrepancies. Robin had been skimming from everyone, not just family. I sent a carefully worded message to the Facebook group. Thank you for your support, for transparency. I'm sharing public court documents showing the systematic theft of $247,000 from my education trust fund, established by my late father, Daniel Kerr. This money was meant for college and medical school. Instead, it funded gambling debts and a failed auto shop. I'm not seeking sympathy, only justice and the return of stolen funds so they can establish scholarships for Cedar Ridge students. Full documentation is available at the courthouse. Case 2025 CF 0847. I attached the public filing, redacting only personal addresses. The post got 800 shares in 3 hours. That evening, Dad's firefighter brothers organized a protest outside Porter's Pit. 30 retired firefighters, holding signs, You stole from our brother's legacy, and Daniel Kerr died saving lives. You stole his daughter's future. Bo came out swinging literally. Sam Rodriguez, Dad's former lieutenant, took a punch to the jaw before Bo was tackled by 3 others, all caught on multiple phones, live-streamed to Facebook. That's assault on a senior citizen, Ava noted, watching the footage. Federal enhancement because Sam's over 65. The county commission held an emergency meeting at 7 p.m. The room was packed. Overflow crowd in the hallway. One by one, citizens demanded accountability. The commission voted unanimously to ban Robin from any county position for life and to audit every transaction she'd overseen. Robin's lawyer, Marcus Webb, the only attorney in town willing to take her case, tried to negotiate that night. My client is willing to admit to mismanagement of funds, he offered in Ava's office. Misdemeanor charges, community service, gradual restitution over 15 years. No, I said flatly. Be reasonable. She's your aunt. This is destroying her life. She destroyed mine first. Federal charges, full restitution within 90 days, and she admits to everything, including the affair with Bo while stealing from my mother. That's vindictive. That's accountability. I pulled up my laptop. Would you like to see the spreadsheet $247,000 from my trust? $200,000 from Dad's pension? Approximately $30,000 from various charities. She can liquidate her house, her car, her jewelry, or she can go to federal prison for 30 years. Webb left without agreeing, but we knew he'd be back. Mom watched the news coverage from Grady's living room, finally seeing the truth reflected back from the community. They all knew something was wrong, she said quietly. But now they can act on it, I replied. Silence protects abusers. Once you break it, their power collapses. The next morning, the Denver Post ran a full feature, How One Woman's No Exposed Years of Family Financial Fraud. They'd interviewed Principal Morrison, who praised Mom's dedication despite obvious signs of domestic abuse we should have addressed sooner. Bo's customers started pulling out. 3 major contracts canceled in one day. The landlord of Porter's Pit posted an eviction notice for lease violations running an illegal gambling operation from the premises, based on casino chips found during the police search. But the real victory came from an unexpected source. Ruth called me at 4 p.m. "Just got off the phone with the estate lawyer," she said. "Your grandfather changed his will 2 weeks before he died. Left everything to you, bypassing Robin completely." What? He knew. Somehow. He knew what she was doing. The house, his investments. Everything goes to you. About $400,000 total. "Grandma, that should be yours." "I have what I need. This is justice, honey. Use it to rebuild what they destroyed." That night, I created the Daniel Kerr Memorial Fund website with full transparency, every dollar in, every dollar out, publicly tracked. Within 6 hours, donations poured in. 5,000 from the Firefighters Union, 10,000 from an anonymous donor who wrote, "For every girl whose family stole her dreams." Robin's Facebook page was deleted after death threats started not from me. I'd never condone that, but from parents who'd trusted her with fundraiser money, from people who'd donated to causes she'd skimmed from. Beau's business page was review-bombed with 1-star ratings and photos of him being arrested. "Steals from children" became the most common phrase. "You've destroyed them socially," Ava observed. "Sometimes that's worse than prison." "They destroyed themselves," I corrected. "I just made sure everyone could see it." The Cedar Ridge Gazette editorial that week was titled "The Cost of Silence." It outlined how the entire community had failed my mother, had seen signs but chosen politeness over intervention. Principal Morrison called personally, "Elaine's job is secure. We're also providing paid leave for her to attend therapy and court proceedings. It's the least we can do." As I helped Mom pack to move back home, Beau was in jail. Unable to make the new bail after the second assault, she asked, "How did you become so strong?" "I learned to say no," I answered. "And once you say it the first time, it gets easier. Every no builds on the last one, until you're strong enough to tear down anyone who tries to force a yes." The federal courthouse in Denver stood like a monument to justice delayed but not denied. At 9 a.m. sharp, Robin entered her plea. Her lawyer had worked through the weekend, and she'd finally accepted reality. "How do you plead to the charge of wire fraud, guilty?" Her voice barely carried across the courtroom. "Mail fraud, guilty. Money laundering, guilty. 17 charges in total. Each guilty, smaller than the last, until she was just mouthing the word. The judge ordered her to provide a detailed written statement about the scheme, every withdrawal, every forged signature, every dollar stolen. "I want names," Judge Patricia Chin stated firmly. "Every person who helped you, every institution that looked the other way, every detail of how you systematically stole from your niece." Robin's written confession came that afternoon. 12 pages of admissions. She detailed how she'd noticed the trust fund 3 months after Dad's death, how she'd convinced Mom to sign over temporary authority for safekeeping, how she'd started small 500 here, 1,000 there, testing to see if anyone would notice. No one did. The withdrawals grew. The casino trips started. She met Beau at blackjack tables, discovered their mutual appetites for spending other people's money. She introduced him to Mom specifically because she knew he'd keep her too beaten down to ask questions. "I told myself Madison didn't need it," she wrote. "She was smart. She'd get scholarships. The money was just sitting there while we had real, immediate needs." Those needs included a $40,000 boat, $16,000 in casino losses in one weekend, and a $5,000 purse. Beau's plea hearing was different. He tried to maintain innocence until Agent Moss played the Murphy's Tavern video in court. "That's you admitting to assault, isn't it?" the prosecutor asked. "I was drunk. Yes or no?" "Yes." "And this is you on security footage striking Madison Kerr at the church. She was being disrespectful. Yes or no?" His lawyer whispered urgently in his ear. "Yes." The assault on Sam Rodriguez sealed it. Federal enhancement for attacking a senior citizen. combined with his prior record from Texas and Oklahoma that had finally been unsealed. "Mr. Porter," Judge Chin said, "you've left a trail of domestic violence across 3 states. You've stolen from charities, defrauded family members, and shown no remorse except for being caught. How do you plead?" Bo looked at me then, pure hatred in his eyes. I stared back, steady. "Guilty," he spat. But the real satisfaction came during the restitution hearing. "Ms. Hale," the judge addressed Robin, "you have assets totaling approximately $300,000. Your house, vehicle, jewelry, and remaining bank accounts. These will be liquidated immediately." "That's everything I have?" "That's everything you stole from your niece to have." Judge Chin's voice was ice. "Mr. Porter, your business assets, vehicle, boat, and tools will also be liquidated. Additionally, you'll both be subject to wage garnishment for 20 years following your release from prison." Ava had prepared victim impact statements. Mom went first, her voice growing stronger with each word. "You didn't just steal money. You stole my daughter's faith and family. You stole my ability to trust. You made me doubt my own worth until I believed I deserved the abuse." She looked directly at Bo. "You're a coward who beats women and steals from children. You're exactly the kind of man my husband would have thrown out of our home." Then my turn. I'd prepared remarks but spoke from the heart instead. Daniel Kerr died saving lives. He ran into a burning building to rescue a family of 4. He knew the risks, but went anyway because that's who he was, someone who protected others. I held up his photo. "You dishonored his memory. You stole what he died to provide. But worse, you made my mother believe she deserved abuse, that asking for help was weakness." I turned to Robin. "You were supposed to be family. Instead, you orchestrated the systematic destruction of your sister's life for casino chips and designer bags. You introduced her to an abuser because it made your theft easier." "The court orders full restitution," Judge Chin announced. $447,000, plus interest and penalties. Sentencing will occur in 30 days. But I'll note that the federal guidelines suggest 15 to 20 years for these crimes. Outside the courthouse, the media waited. I'd prepared a statement. Today, justice began to be served. But this case represents a larger issue: financial abuse within families, the silence that enables it, and the courage required to break that silence. The Daniel Kerr Second Chance Fund will provide scholarships and support for those escaping financial abuse. Every dollar recovered will go toward helping others rebuild what was stolen from them. That evening, we held a different kind of hearing at the VFW Hall. Not legal, but communal. Dad's firefighter brothers had organized it a truth and reconciliation of sorts. Robin's ex-friends came forward with their own stories. Small thefts they'd dismissed, fundraisers that came up short, loans never repaid. The total was staggering, nearly $50,000 beyond what she'd stolen from us. "We enabled this," said Margaret Wilson, who'd run the church fundraisers with Robin. "We saw the signs but chose to believe excuses rather than face ugly truths." Mom stood up then, surprising everyone, including me. "I need to apologize too," she said. "To my daughter, to this community. I let fear silence me. I let shame isolate me. I chose a dangerous peace over difficult truth. That ends now." The room erupted in applause, not for the speech, but for the courage it took to give it. Later that night, as I helped Mom move back into the house, truly hers now, with Bo's belongings removed by court order, she found something in the closet. A box of Dad's things Bo had hidden, probably to sell later. Inside were love letters Dad had written to Mom, his plans for their future, for my future. One note, dated a week before his death, read, "If something happens to me, trust Maddie to handle the finances. She's got my stubbornness and your heart. She'll always do what's right, even when it's hard." "He knew," Mom whispered. "Somehow, he knew you'd be the one to save us." "We saved ourselves," I corrected, "the moment we said no." The next morning, Robin's house went on the market. Porter's Pit was padlocked, awaiting auction. And in my laptop bag, I carried the incorporation papers for the Daniel Kerr Second Chance Fund, already funded with the first installment of restitution. Justice isn't revenge, it's restoration. It's taking back what was stolen and using it to ensure no one else suffers the same theft. It's saying no and meaning it. Consequences be damned. The demolition crew arrived at 7 a.m. sharp, their trucks rumbling down Spring Creek Drive like an army of justice. I stood on the front porch with Mom, watching them dismantle everything Bo had built with stolen money, the gaudy Porter's Pit sign, the Confederate flag he'd hung in the garage, the security system he'd installed to monitor Mom's every move. Sheriff Alvarez supervised personally, ensuring the court order was followed to the letter. Every modification Bo had made to our house was being stripped away, revealing the bones of what Dad had built solid, honest, meant to last. "Ma'am," the crew chief approached, holding Dad's firefighter helmet. "Found this hidden in the wall of the garage, along with these." A box of medals, photos, Dad's service records, everything Bo had planned to sell, hidden behind drywall he'd installed himself. Mom touched each item with trembling fingers. He was erasing Daniel, replacing him piece by piece. "Not anymore," I said. The locksmith arrived next, installing new smart locks with codes only Mom and I would know. The security company followed, but this time the cameras pointed outward protection, not surveillance. At noon, Bo was brought out in shackles for his final removal from the property. Federal marshals had given him 10 minutes to collect personal items under supervision. He emerged with a single garbage bag of clothes, his face purple with rage. "This is my house," he screamed at the gathering crowd. Neighbors had come out to witness the end of his reign. "I paid for everything here." I stepped forward, holding the forensic accounting report. "With my college fund, every improvement, every repair, every nail you hammered was paid for with money stolen from me." "You can't prove." "Page 47. I interrupted, loud enough for everyone to hear. "March 15th. Lumber from Henderson's Hardware. 3 247s. Paid with a Blue Mesa events card. Same day, $300 was withdrawn from my trust fund." I flipped pages. Page 62. New garage door, $4,800. Interesting timing, 2 days after a $5,000 withdrawal that Robin claimed was for fund management fees. You vindictive little Sheriff Alvarez stepped between us. "Mr. Porter, you've been served with a permanent restraining order, 500 feet from this property, 1,000 feet from Mrs. Porter and Ms. Kerr. Violation means immediate federal prison." As the marshals loaded him into their van, Bo turned one last time. "Elaine, tell them you wanted this." Mom stepped forward, back straight, voice clear. "I wanted a partner. I got a parasite. I wanted love. I got bruises. I wanted security. I got theft and lies." She held up the divorce papers, already signed. "I wanted you gone. Now I have that." The van pulled away, taking Bo to federal holding to await transport to prison. 15 years minimum, the judge had decided, 20 if he violated any terms. Ava arrived with the final documentation. "The first restitution payment cleared," she announced. $150,000 from Robin's house sale. Another $100,000 from liquidating Porter's Pit and all assets. The rest will come from wage garnishment. And the fund, fully operational, the school board approved it for immediate disbursement. 3 students will start college this fall with full scholarships. I signed the papers establishing Mom as co-director of the Daniel Kerr Second Chance Fund. Her hand shook as she added her signature. "I don't know anything about running a scholarship fund," she said. "You know about surviving," I replied. "About starting over when everything's been taken. That's exactly what these kids need to hear." The contractor arrived for the final touch, installing a plaque by the front door. "The Daniel Kerr House, rebuilt with love, protected by truth." That evening, the firefighters threw a party at the VFW Hall. Not a celebration of destruction, but of restoration. They'd created a shadow box of Dad's recovered items, which would hang in the firehouse. His helmet sat in the center, polished and proud. Sam Rodriguez raised a beer. To Daniel Kerr, who taught us to run toward danger to save others, and to his daughter Madison, who came home to save her family. To saying no, I countered, raising my own glass, and meaning it. Later, as I helped Mom arrange the recovered photos on the mantel, she asked, "What now? You'll go back to New York?" "Monday," I confirmed, "but I'll be back every month to help with the fund. And Mom Northline Advisory wants to open a Denver office. I'll be heading it, specializing in financial fraud recovery." She hugged me then, the kind of embrace we hadn't shared since before Dad died. He'd be so proud. "Of both of us," I said, as the sun set behind the mountains, painting Cedar Ridge gold. I stood where I'd stood that first day, but everything was different. The house was ours, truly ours. The locks were changed. The accounts were protected. The truth was spoken. My phone buzzed with an email from the federal prosecutor. Robin had been sentenced that afternoon 18 years. No possibility of early release. She'd cried, begged, claimed family should forgive. The judge reminded her that family shouldn't steal. I walked to Dad's workshop, now cleared of Beau's junk, restored to how Dad had kept it. His tools hung in their proper places. His plans for expanding the house were still tacked to the wall, a room for grandkids he'd never meet, a library for Mom, a deck for summer evenings. Maybe we'd build them after all, with honest money, honest work, honest love. The sound of tires on gravel made me turn. Deputy Ruiz pulled up, holding a banker's box. "Found this in Robin's storage unit," she said. "Thought you'd want it immediately." Inside were letters, dozens of them, all addressed to me, all unopened, from law schools I'd applied to years ago, Harvard, Yale, Stanford. All acceptances, all offering significant scholarships. She hid these. Mom gasped, reading over my shoulder. "She couldn't risk me knowing I had options," I said. "Couldn't risk me having a future she couldn't control." The last envelope was different. Dad's handwriting, dated the day before he died. "My brave Maddie," it read. "If you're reading this, something's happened to me. Know this. You have everything you need inside you already. The money is just numbers. The real inheritance I leave you is courage, the ability to stand up, speak truth, and say no when the world demands yes. Use it wisely. Use it fiercely. Love, Dad." I folded the letter carefully, placed it in my wallet. Tomorrow, I'd frame it for my new office in Denver. A reminder that inheritance isn't what others leave you, it's what you choose to claim. As I stood on that porch, watching the stars emerge over the Rockies, I thought about the girl who'd arrived here days ago with a suitcase full of evidence and a heart full of rage. She'd gotten her revenge, but more importantly, she'd gotten her freedom, her mother's freedom. Freedom from silence, from acceptance, from the word yes when everything in her screamed no. The house was quiet now, peaceful. No drunken rages, no footsteps to fear, no walking on eggshells that were already broken. I'd said no, and the world had shifted to accommodate it. I'd said no, and for the first time in 12 years, I was home. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Please comment below and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Your experiences and perspectives make these stories richer for everyone.